On the morning of June 30th, 1908, the world bore witness to one of the most powerful, unexplained explosions in recorded history. In the vast wilderness of Siberia, near the Podkamenaya Tunguska River, a fiery object blazed across the sky, illuminating the early morning like a second sun. Moments later, a cataclysmic explosion erupted, sending a shockwave powerful enough to flatten over 80 million trees across more than 2,150 square kilometers. The force was estimated to be between 10 and 15 megatons, comparable to a modern thermonuclear bomb. The event was so powerful that it generated air pressure waves that circled the Earth multiple times. Seismic instruments registered the tremors. For nights after, skies as far away as London and New York glowed with an eerie luminescence. But despite its sheer magnitude, the Tunguska explosion left behind no impact crater, no definitive debris, and no conclusive explanation. The remoteness of the Tunguska region meant that news of the explosion spread slowly. Indigenous Evenki tribes and Russian settlers recounted terrifying stories of the sky splitting apart, a pillar of fire descending from the heavens, and a deafening series of blasts that knocked people off their feet, even at great distances. To this day, the mystery of the Tunguska Event remains unsolved. Was it a meteorite, a comet, a failed scientific experiment, or something even stranger? To answer that, we must travel back to the moment it happened and hear the accounts of those who saw it firsthand. Despite its sheer magnitude, no official investigation was conducted until nearly 2 decades later. Welcome to Unveiling Hidden Past, where we unravel the unexplained, dissect the improbable, and explore the mysteries that defy logic. Today we travel deep into the Siberian wilderness to a moment in history when the sky burned, the earth trembled, and an explosion unlike any before or since reshaped the land. The Tunguska event was not just an impact, it was an anomaly, a riddle that has baffled scientists for over a century. Was it a cosmic catastrophe, a secret experiment, or something beyond our understanding? Let's find out. Despite its remoteness, the Tunguska explosion was seen and felt by people hundreds of kilometers away. The indigenous Evenki people, local traders, and Russian settlers all provided chilling testimonies. One of the most famous eyewitness accounts came from a local man named Semyon Semenov, who described seeing a bright, expanding fireball followed by a searing heat that seemed to set the sky ablaze. The shockwave shattered windows and threw people to the ground in villages over 60 kilometers away. The sky split in two. A brilliant fire appeared high above the forest. It was unbearably hot, so hot that my clothes felt like they were burning. Then a massive explosion. A deafening roar shook the earth and I was thrown from my chair. Windows shattered. A powerful wind swept through the village, tearing roofs off houses and knocking people to the ground. Hundreds of kilometers away in the town of Kirensk, residents recalled hearing a series of explosions like artillery fire rolling through the sky. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Local Evenki reindeer herders believed it to be an act of their thunder god, Ogdi. Some of them fled their encampments, terrified that the heavens had opened up in rage. Others reported seeing trees burst into flames instantly, while those closer to the site recounted feeling a crushing pressure before losing consciousness. Across the world, strange phenomena continued for days. In Europe and North America, bright, glowing skies were reported. The night of June 30th was so luminous that people in London claimed they could read newspapers outside at midnight. Scientists were puzzled. What could have possibly caused this? For nearly 2 decades, no one attempted to investigate. Russia had bigger concerns: revolutions, wars, and internal strife. The world had all but forgotten Tunguska, that is until 1927, when Soviet scientist Leonid Kulik set out to uncover the truth. Leonid Kulik, a Soviet mineralogist, was the first scientist to lead an expedition to the Tunguska site. Convinced that a massive meteorite was responsible, he petitioned the Soviet government to fund an investigation. His argument? If a meteorite that large had struck the Earth, valuable iron and metals could be recovered. It took Kulik and his team weeks to traverse the harsh Siberian landscape. When they finally arrived at the site, what they found defied all expectations. There was no impact crater. Instead, they saw a vast wasteland of flattened trees, all lying in a radial pattern outward from the explosion's epicenter. Strangely, at the very center of the blast zone, trees were still standing, stripped of their branches but upright, as if the force had pressed downward rather than outward. Kulik searched for meteorite fragments, but found none. There were no traces of any foreign material. There was no evidence of an impact that should have created such destruction. He was baffled. What could cause such devastation without leaving a crater? Without any remnants of the impacting body? The lack of clear answers only deepened the mystery. Since Kulik's expedition, scientists have proposed multiple theories. Some seem plausible, others highly speculative. A more controversial theory suggests that the explosion was the unintended consequence of Nikola Tesla's experiments with wireless energy transmission. In 1908, Tesla was attempting to test his Wardenclyffe tower, which he claimed could send energy wirelessly across great distances. Some believe that he accidentally triggered an atmospheric explosion over Tunguska. While an intriguing idea, there is no concrete evidence linking Tesla's work to the event. The idea that the Tunguska event was caused by a tiny black hole or an antimatter explosion may sound like science fiction, but some physicists have seriously considered these possibilities. These theories attempt to explain the lack of a crater and the extreme energy release without leaving behind physical debris. One speculative theory suggests that a primordial black hole, a microscopic remnant from the early universe, could have passed through the Earth, causing the Tunguska explosion. If such a black hole, potentially smaller than an atom but incredibly dense, had entered the Earth's atmosphere, it could have released an immense amount of energy as it interacted with matter. According to this idea, the black hole would have entered the Earth's atmosphere at high velocity, compressed the air ahead of it, and generated a shock wave powerful enough to flatten trees in a radial pattern, similar to what was observed at Tunguska. However, for this theory to hold, the black hole would have needed to pass completely through the Earth, exiting somewhere on the opposite side. Scientists have searched for any disturbances, seismic activity, or unexplained energy releases that could confirm such an exit, but have found none. Additionally, if a black hole had passed through the planet, it might have left a detectable gravitational signature, yet no anomalies have been recorded that match the Tunguska timeline. Without supporting evidence, the black hole theory remains an intriguing but largely unsupported hypothesis. Another possibility that has been proposed is that the explosion was caused by a collision between normal matter and antimatter. Antimatter is a form of matter that consists of particles with opposite charges to normal matter, for example, an anti-electron, positron, instead of an electron. When matter and antimatter come into contact, they annihilate each other, releasing pure energy in the process. If a small chunk of antimatter had entered the Earth's atmosphere and interacted with normal matter, it could have caused an explosion of equivalent force to a thermonuclear bomb, much like the Tunguska blast. This would explain why no meteorite fragments or crater were found, since antimatter would completely annihilate upon contact, leaving no physical remains. However, this theory also faces major scientific challenges. Antimatter is incredibly rare in the universe, and no naturally occurring antimatter objects, such as asteroids or comets, have ever been detected near Earth. Additionally, an antimatter explosion of that magnitude would likely have produced a unique radiation signature, particularly high levels of gamma rays, which were not observed in any historical records. While both the black hole and antimatter explosion theories attempt to explain Tunguska's unusual characteristics, such as the absence of a crater and debris, neither theory is supported by direct evidence. Scientists continue to favor the Airburst hypothesis, in which a comet or asteroid exploded in the atmosphere, over these more exotic explanations. Despite this, the Tunguska event remains a mystery, and as our understanding of physics deepens, new discoveries could one day shed more light on whether something truly extraordinary happened over Siberia in 1908. The Tunguska event has long been a magnet for speculation, but no theory is as controversial or as captivating as the idea that it was caused by an extraterrestrial spacecraft. The sheer scale of the explosion, combined with the lack of an impact crater and the absence of conventional meteorite debris, has led some to suggest that what occurred over the skies of Siberia was not a natural cosmic event, but rather an incident involving advanced technology, not of this Earth. Could it be that an alien spacecraft met its untimely end in the atmosphere? Could an extraterrestrial weapon test have gone horribly wrong? Or was it a deliberate act, a controlled explosion of unknown origin? One of the more enduring theories among UFO enthusiasts is that the Tunguska explosion was the result of an alien spacecraft crash. The argument follows a simple logic. First, the explosion did not leave a crater, which some claim suggests a controlled detonation rather than a random meteorite strike. Second, the energy release was highly concentrated, resembling descriptions of nuclear-like detonations decades before such weapons existed on Earth. And third, reports from Evenki tribespeople mentioned a cylindrical or disc-like object streaking across the sky before the explosion, bearing a resemblance to common descriptions of UFOs. Some versions of the theory propose that an alien craft malfunctioned in the atmosphere, leading to an uncontrolled explosion. Others suggest that the spacecraft may have been intentionally destroyed, either by its own crew to avoid detection, or by a conflict between two unknown forces. This idea gained traction in the 1940s and 50s, during the rise of modern UFO law. With governments worldwide becoming increasingly secretive about aerial phenomena, some conspiracy theorists speculate that whatever crashed in Tunguska might have been quietly investigated and covered up in later decades. However, there is no physical evidence to suggest that any wreckage was recovered, nor have any known fragments resembling advanced technology been found at the site. Another dramatic interpretation is that the Tunguska explosion was not an accident at all, but rather a deliberate test of an extraterrestrial weapon. Opponents of this theory argue that 1. The butterfly-shaped blast pattern at Tunguska resembles the aftermath of controlled energy weapons rather than a natural explosion. The lack of impact debris and the tree-scorching effect could be consistent with a directed energy attack rather than an airburst from a cosmic object. Some UFO researchers believe that Earth has been visited by extraterrestrial beings for centuries, and that Tunguska could have been a targeted strike, possibly an experiment or a warning. There are even more extreme ideas. Some claim that Earth was caught in the middle of an intergalactic war, with a battle fought high in the atmosphere, causing a catastrophic detonation. Others suggest that an unknown intelligence may have detonated a device to prevent an even greater disaster, such as deflecting a comet from hitting a more populated area of the planet. While these ideas make for compelling science fiction, they remain entirely speculative. No verifiable evidence exists to confirm that advanced technology was involved in the Tunguska explosion. Interestingly, during the Cold War, some Soviet scientists and military personnel took a renewed interest in the Tunguska explosion. Declassified documents suggest that the USSR briefly entertained the possibility that something unnatural had occurred in Siberia, though official reports still lean toward the meteorite theory. In the 1970s, Soviet engineer Alexander Kazantsev proposed that the explosion was caused by a nuclear-powered alien spacecraft. He noted that the explosion had similarities to an atomic bomb blast, though nuclear weapons would not be invented for another 4 decades after Tunguska. Kazantsev speculated that a damaged extraterrestrial craft had attempted an emergency landing but failed, self-destructing in the atmosphere to prevent human discovery. He even suggested that radiation levels in the Tunguska region might be higher than normal, which some later investigations sought to confirm. However, no conclusive radiation anomalies were ever found. Despite the lack of hard evidence, the mystique of Tunguska continues to fuel alien-related theories. The strange atmospheric effects, the absence of a meteorite, and the massive energy release all contribute to the idea that something beyond our current understanding occurred that day. Even today, fringe researchers and UFO enthusiasts believe that new technologies, such as satellite imaging and advanced soil analysis, could reveal previously undetected anomalies in the region. Until then, the Tunguska UFO theory remains one of the most fascinating and controversial explanations for this cosmic mystery. Could it be that the answers to Tunguska lie not in the stars but in the wreckage of a long-forgotten spacecraft? Or is this simply another case where human imagination fills the gaps that science has yet to explain? Among all the theories surrounding the Tunguska event, the most widely accepted explanation remains that the explosion was caused by an asteroid or a comet that entered Earth's atmosphere, disintegrating in a massive airburst before ever reaching the ground. When a large cosmic object enters Earth's atmosphere, it travels at extreme speeds, anywhere from 40,000 to 70,000 kilometers per hour. As it descends, it encounters intense atmospheric resistance, causing rapid compression and heating of the air in front of it. This buildup of pressure can eventually cause the object to explode mid-air, releasing a massive amount of energy in a fraction of a second. This type of explosion is known as an airburst, and it can be just as devastating as a direct impact. Rather than forming a crater, the shock wave spreads outward, flattening trees and sending fireballs of superheated air across the landscape. Scientists estimate that the Tunguska airburst released energy equivalent to 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, which is about 1,000 times the power of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. If the Tunguska explosion was an airburst, then what kind of object caused it? Was it an asteroid, a rocky fragment left over from the formation of the solar system? Or was it a comet, an icy body made of frozen gases, dust and rock? Some scientists favor the asteroid hypothesis, believing that a small, stony or metallic asteroid about 50 to 60 meters in diameter entered the atmosphere at a shallow angle before disintegrating. If true, this suggests that Earth narrowly avoided a full asteroid impact, which could have created a crater and caused even greater devastation. Others argue that a comet is a more likely candidate due to the lack of debris found at the site. Comets are composed mostly of ice and volatile compounds, meaning they could completely vaporize upon explosion, leaving little to no physical traces. Modern computer simulations support this idea, showing that an icy body traveling at high speeds could have detonated 5 to 10 kilometers above the ground, generating the massive energy burst seen at Tunguska. Since the 1927 Kulik expedition, scientists have gathered key pieces of evidence that support the asteroid-comet airburst theory. 1. The butterfly-shaped blast pattern. The radial pattern of flattened trees suggests an explosion above ground rather than an impact event. 2. Eyewitness reports of a fireball. Many survivors described a bright streak in the sky consistent with a meteoric entry. 3. Geochemical signatures in soil samples. Some later studies detected unusual levels of nickel and iridium, elements commonly found in cosmic bodies. 4. Atmospheric effects around the globe. The strange nighttime illuminations reported in Europe and North America suggest that fine dust particles were ejected high into the atmosphere, another clue pointing to a disintegrating cosmic object. Despite strong support for the airburst theory, there is still one major unanswered question. Where are the remnants of the object? No large meteorite fragments have ever been recovered from the site. No confirmed impact materials, such as large iron or stony debris, have been found in the surrounding region, and no crater or shock-melted rock, which would be expected if a solid body had reached the ground, exists in Tunguska. Some researchers believe that any remaining material burned up completely in the explosion, while others suggest that small fragments could still be buried deep in the soil, yet to be discovered. In 2013, a meteor exploded over Chelyabinsk, Russia, injuring over 1,500 people and causing widespread damage. This event was captured on video, showing a fiery object streaking across the sky before detonating with a force of about 500 kilotons, roughly 30 times smaller than Tunguska. The Chelyabinsk meteor event confirmed that airbursts are real, dangerous, and capable of producing Tunguska-like destruction. The key difference? Chelyabinsk's meteor left behind thousands of small rock fragments, whereas Tunguska's did not, deepening the mystery of what really happened in 1908. If the Tunguska explosion was caused by a small asteroid or comet, then it wasn't an isolated event. It was a reminder of the very real threat of near-Earth objects, NEOs. Scientists now track thousands of potentially hazardous asteroids, hoping to detect the next Tunguska-class impactor before it reaches Earth. If such an event were to occur over a major city, the destruction would be catastrophic. Even today, the Tunguska explosion stands as a stark warning, a glimpse of the devastation that could be unleashed by objects from space, and a mystery that still challenges modern science. Today, the Tunguska event serves as a stark reminder of the Earth's vulnerability to cosmic impacts. Scientists continue to study similar events, such as the 2013 Chelyabinsk meteor, which exploded over Russia with a force of 500 kilotons, injuring over 1,500 people. If an object the size of the Tunguska impactor were to explode over a major city today, the devastation would be catastrophic. Modern space agencies are actively tracking near-Earth objects, but the threat remains very real. Despite over a century of study, Tunguska remains an enigma. It is a story of science, mystery, and the unpredictable power of the universe. And while we may never fully know what happened in 1908, one thing is certain: whatever came from the sky that morning left a mark on history forever. Question remains: will it happen again?